No,
It just helps the committee understand the challenges that you face.
right. So any major crime like a burglary, sex offense, major battery, homicide, the deputies would respond initially and call in detectives for a more intensive investigation. So they do a lot of the follow-up on those longer term investigations where you have multiple interviews, you got complex crime scenes, things of that nature.
All right.
You get into bigger departments and they have their own specialized unit. You'll have units for just coming in, taking evidence, like in Chicago. They have evidence technicians. That's all they deal with is evidence. So the detectives would call in them and they'd call another guy to photograph. I mean, so they were so specialized in various areas. And we're the jack of all trades in counties because the deputy will go out and he'll take the pictures, he'll take the initial report, he'll do all the stuff. He'll lift, even dust for fingerprints at times, and then the detectives may do that also. But they do all the stuff that you have to do it.
And a lot of that stuff's really technical, especially, and you have to do it technically
You have to
for
have
it to
training-
stand up in
training to do
court.
it.
So, okay, and that was that was my follow-up, was that to be a detective, you have to have that further education, do that. And the guys do that on their own, or we are out?
As far as, interview and interrogation tactics, crime scene processing, specialized things, crime scene photography. We'll send them to those courses to try and obviously develop our people. So we're a more professional agency.
Right. Okay. Anything else for Clay? All right.
Andy and Barney never had all these problems.
Yeah, is that right? Clay, thanks for
I
coming.
wish I could be Otis.
They never talked once about their budget.
Yeah, right.
Once again, thanks for coming in, Clay. Appreciate you being cooperative and being part of the process. So,
Yeah.
that's right.
So your next hearing is at 11 o'clock with IT Director Paul Gorski. So I don't know if there's anything you want to circle back on and talk about. I did just receive an email this morning from Paw that said, oh, did I ask for $2,500? I really meant $1,500. So just by asking a simple question.
Yeah.
So on the social service agency, but if there's anything else that you want to, or you want Paul to review while we've got a few minutes, we can do that. Your call.
We may want you to send a lot more emails.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
And Becky's reminding me that formally I stuck in the treasurer at 10 o'clock just as a placeholder, not knowing if there'd be time. So maybe you do want to grill Paul for a while. Paul,
Well,
come on up.
That's fine, but the chairman needs to take, because he didn't get his 5-minute break before executive session, so he's exiting stage left, and you guys can
And
grill
I'll
Paul.
be back.
So, Paul, you're up.
You want to come over, Paul, to the table, or you're good there?
I think I'll stay here where these guys can't reach me. No,
Kick ya.
no, I can come over there if you guys want me to.
Well, it's easier for them to, than if they spin around in their chair, then they're not talking into their mics.
Papa's still 500 higher than they were the year before.
Yeah, but they're
Down 1,000.
down 1,000 and there was no additional services. I think I said to you, I've seen that in action when I've been down there on behalf of the senator.
Ah.
Oh, I
okay.
didn't tell,
No,
no,
no.
we do visiting office hours and it's in the Papa Library. And that library is in the city building.
Yep.
And they have a spot downstairs where they have a trainer a lady that does their exercises with these people, whoever comes. And I've been there twice and seen them both times, and there's a handful of people, 7 or 8, and they'll come up to the library because Mike's wife has coffee up there because she's the librarian, Mike Siemens' wife.
All right. All right.
So I've been, integrated a little bit into it, and they play bingo. So my question was, is that pay, is that additional amount of money, is it going to the lady that does
Sorry, Mom.
Chair's back.
The chair is back. And much more relaxed, so thank you very much.
So Paul, launch into your budget, because again, I'm going to remind you, we are streaming this out
All
on
right.
here too.
So obviously.
People just gotta understand that, you know, we're just like, yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
We'll go through
Life is life.
salaries first. In the salary officer number,
Right
that's,
above the sheriff.
that's run through the resolution that the board made for elected officials for this term. My full-time salary number does include a financial analyst that we have not found yet. I do feel like there's merit in that position, a strong merit in that position. Right now, we're struggling to keep up in our office just with two admin and myself. So a third person would help in that role.
So I'm gonna turn the tables on you.
Okay,
You're
go
gonna
ahead.
love this. So while we're searching, because I know that
Yes.
if we don't find that person and or maybe can we bring in a part-time person that will help you? Would there be value in that until we find, you know, we get that right fit?
Oh,
Hopefully,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I would answer it the same as Bob did yesterday or Tuesday with me, right? Was,
Right.
oh, for sure, if we can find that person. And I think his answer was they're having a hard time finding somebody who wants to work less than 20. Well, one, finding somebody who wants to work. Let's just put it that way. Then two, finding somebody that wants to work less than 28 hours a week. Somebody who wants to pay that's under, yeah, minimal wage, if you will, well, maybe slightly over. And then, you know, you to have somebody do that, absolutely, they can help the administrative side of it. And I do have two people right
Now,
now
if you had,
that are
if you had somebody.
seasonal.
If you had somebody that had financial experience, would you have to start them at that?
No,
Yeah.
no, financial experience would help me to give them a little boost in salary, if you will. Yes.
Right.
Yes. I mean, you're talking like a part-timer, or you're talking, obviously the full-timer, I have that kind of baked into the cost of the role.
Right. No,
But a
I'm
part-
talking about the part-timer to get you past, but somebody
We
that has.
could, I guess the question becomes, let's say we find that part-timer, and maybe we do, and we could,
And I'm thinking of somebody that's a retired accountant, you know, or
true,
something like that.
true. The real issue becomes then, and I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. When we do find the financial analyst that we want, do we turn around and tell that part-timer they no longer have a job? Because they can't afford both.
And the answer would be yes.
Okay,
I
yeah, which I don't have, again, it's not that I'm cold but I don't have a problem telling somebody the role is no longer a viable
You know,
role.
and as long as they
Right.
know that,
Throw it in.
but
Yeah.
your pool, people will do that.
Will, when you tell them that going in, that pool shrinks
Yeah.
quite a bit, right?
As opposed to part-time, is contracting a possibility?
Yes, I guess your short answer is yes. Here's the thing. So what we are mainly struggling keeping up with is obviously the day-to-day operations of bank reconciliations, making sure. So not only now in this office today, now we have payroll and we have accounts payable. Payroll takes on a lot more of the role than what just cutting checks. You've got reports that the government wants, and if you've run, you know, they want, the state of Illinois wants reports all the time. We've got 941s on a quarterly basis that have to match, or they, you know, they are they're hitting you with fines and fees. So really if I contract that, right, which we could train somebody to do that, at what cost? Because again, I can't find somebody at the rate that we typically pay our folks.
Yeah, I was thinking more people who are maybe retired that were.
And that's
willing
what,
to
yeah, that
contract as
part-timer.
opposed to-
Yeah, yeah,
But as, I mean,
yeah. And, I
I don't know contracting versus hiring part-time.
I actually have a specific person in mind, but I don't think that person wants to do it, but.
Okay.
Is there anyone on your staff already that could elevate to that role and you could fill that position?
Your speaker's not on, but if you want to ask that, yeah, go ahead.
Is there anyone on your staff already that could do that role, that you could elevate and then hire to fill that position? I'm sure you probably already thought about this, but
If so, I would have given that,
Okay.
but the role that we've designed,
Mm-hmm.
I've specifically asked for somebody with a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
I've specifically asked for somebody with some experience, maybe 5 years. And in this role, they would also, more than likely be the supervisor for the department, right? If you've never done that,
No,
it is a difficult process to learn, though some of you have to learn somewhere. So I'm being very specific in what I'm asking for, and that's why I'm not finding it.
well, you get what you ask for. So.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And if you
yeah,
don't
I'm-
ask, you usually don't get it. No, I was just curious.
Yes, yes, yes.
Are you still searching, Paul, for something?
I am. I don't have an active job roll out on, say, like Indeed or ZipRecruiter today. I do have some feelers out with some professional people that I know
Okay.
trying to help me. They're doing me some favors by,
Okay. No, I just-
yeah. So I do have that
Okay.
actively looking. It's very difficult
I'm sure.
at this point.
What was the dollar amount we plugged in for that?
For that role was going to be about 80, which if you notice is more than the officer role. So we
don't
can,
think about that.
I heard that the other day when you were saying that. I picked up on that. I just didn't say anything. You put it in there.
so, yeah, I would entertain that part-time if I could find that person. I truly would. If somebody could come in and really specifically maybe in the summertime roles, which it's part-timer likes to be on vacation just like anybody else. But it seems like your staff, and even myself included in that, does a lot of vacation time in the summer. It makes it so difficult. Do I think we could train somebody? Absolutely. And, they could get in, they could even help us with payroll and AP and bank recs. If you have somebody with some accounting or financial background, it only makes it stronger there in the office. The two gals that are there today are doing a fantastic job, and they're keeping up with the work. It's just, and Paula and I found this 2 or 3 years ago, was we did drop a person, and it was down to 2 people in the office and then your constitutional officer. And even with myself and Paula there, we found we couldn't really keep up. So that's why we had that third person brought back in. So worst case scenario, right, is we bring in a third, and this is not a worst, that doesn't sound right. We could bring in a third role as an administrative person and then just, not have the financial analyst, because that's what I would just do it because, that's the role I do. The question is, when I leave, what happens for the county? I'm really looking to
And that's
solidify the county.
That's what started the whole discussion.
Correct.
Because we knew Paula wasn't going to be around. We've had this wonderful run where we've had
Yeah.
the expertise that you guys brought to the table, and we understand that that's not, oh gosh, and she shows
Oh, my
up.
God, the
What the heck? No, I remember this person that we brought on board
you plan that?
that stuck around for 4 years and then left.
Yeah.
And what the heck do you do with that?
Pulled the rug right out from underneath me.
Right out from under us.
Your timing couldn't have been better, Paula, because they were literally just talking about you. Just saying.
And advertising to hire someone.
Paul, I just have
Yeah.
another question.
Sure.
I don't know all the people in your office, but I do know that some of them have been there a really long time. A fairly long time? No?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I've got one person that's been there 2.5 years
Okay.
and one person that's been there 9 months or
Oh,
7
okay,
months.
Okay. I was just
So,
wondering
yeah.
what the stability of the,
Well,
was there anybody that's gonna,
Yeah,
be
no,
approaching?
and right now, those two, as far as
Good.
I know, are very happy,
Okay.
and are gonna stay.
Okay,
And it's always difficult to bring in another person. The dynamics of the office gets a
Yeah.
little crazy, but you do the best you can and
Sure.
you bring in the people that'll fit, with everybody. And that works. So,
thanks. Curious.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, I'm trying to keep run rate going. I know you guys are looking for dollars, right? So what I mean, as long as we don't find that person and we maybe do part-time, there might be some dollars here that we can, kick back, if you will, or give back, but
For this year.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen in 23. There's money available in terms of what I'm not going to spend in 23. I really would like to have somebody on board this fall, or sooner.
Me too, just saying. Me too.
And we've even talked about this role, almost being dotted line, maybe even reporting through to the administrator, because it is a lot of, it's a lot of the financials that the administrator also goes through. It's keeping up with bank recs, it's keeping up with financial papers, and grant approval, or not approvals, but just making sure the grants are being spent correctly and working that. So that's a role that I could see float under the administrator, and then dotted line to the treasurer, or either or, right? So it's not an increase to the administrative line for the board. It's just, here's the money, it's in the treasurer's role. How do we split it up, right? And that can be done. That's the backside of that. But yeah. But somebody who's retired that's wanting to maybe get 20 hours, 25 hours a week in, yeah, they would work out fantastic. And they could even be a contractor, Tim, where they have their own billing system that we just pay them. That's an example.
One good example, I might say.
I've heard they're real expensive though.
But they're good.
Get what you pay for, just saying. Hey, guys, as you can see, you've got your next, Paul Gorski is here. The next Paul is in line. So unless you have any other questions for Paul Rudolphi, we've got Paul Gorski here.
And
Thanks, Paul.
you know where to find me.
Yep,
We do. Thanks for the discussion. All right.
Paul, would you like
Mr.
to come on up to the
Gorski,
table?
Come on up. Oh, okay.
He's not.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
yeah, right.
So Mrs. Meyer, what do we owe the pleasure?
Oh, well, that's the most important thing.
And then, I had some, a couple of weeks ago, so I had to turn in my invoice or something. So I thought, hey, there's one here, I'm gonna build this.
It'll be fun.
Yes, it does.
It is the same old story.
How's it at your?
Which mic is on?
Whichever one you want.
Turn on.
I gotta get. Hello, there you are. Howdy doing?
Morning, Paul.
Good seeing you, Paul.
So what do you want to start off with, capital or general fund?
General.
Let's do general, because I've got that up. Where's he at? And I'm trying to find it. Where are you? 911 dispatch. There's IT. Well, that was weird. We
Yeah,
had the-
IT is on one page, and then on page 8, if in the document that Wendy forwarded to me, you'll see the rest of my item at the top of the page. So if you scroll down, so.
All right, we'll just start at the top and let's move through your area and then we'll head over to capital.
Okay. Salary officer,
Eight.
It's
General?
weird because excuse me for
Yeah.
a second, Paul, we gotta get Nancy. So, because it'll go down. See, it's IT
Oh, I see.
here,
Oh, I
and
got
it's
it.
actually here.
You have page
Yeah.
8.
Thank you.
No problem.
right, on page,
Page
yeah.
break was
the-
wrong.
Yeah, page
Yeah, the page
7
break
has
was
got
really
IT on it, and then the rest of it's on page 8, beginning of the page. So salary officer, a little bit of wishful thinking. I'd just like to leave some room for negotiation in 2023 or 2024. Full-time salary for staff, that's based on wages now, plus the expected standard increases. Salary overtime, that was based on, the $10,000 amount was based on a bunch of ZBA hearings that are going on now. So if for this year, I'm actually about 4,100 based on that. But working with Paul and with Dee, they're going to start charging that overtime back to the petitioner. So I expect we could reduce the fiscal year 2024 request back down to 4, and they probably won't even spend all of that, because we're going to start charging back within the next month or so, the next set of hearings back to the petitioner, and that'll go forward into 2024. So you can take $6,000 off of salary overtime right
That's
now.
awesome. And that's the way it should be too.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're incurring,
And I had inquired with Wendy and Paul and Dee a few months ago. Then we started talking about it last few weeks. And then Dee said, yeah, we're going to start charging the petitioner with this upcoming, I think there's a meeting tonight, actually. So going forward now, Paul still needs to work out the details for it, but we're going to be taking it from a fee or a charge assessed to the petitioner. So for that line item, then we can go back to what was presented for FY '23,
I made
back
that
down to
change.
4,000. What?
I've made that change.
You've already made the change?
Yeah, I've got a live
A live doc? Okay.
doc that I've just made that change. And so I'll keep you guys informed and get that back after today.
Okay. Nobody in my department's been here over 3 years. I celebrate 3 in February. Jonathan celebrates 3 in January. Justin's will be 6, 7 months by then. So nothing there. Health insurance, IRMF, FICA are what they are. Professional services is based on existing multi-year contracts. Oh, let's go back to, for professional services, existing contracts with Syndio, and expected service cost likely for phone support and some other services. And the increase being allocated to an expansion of the server space that we have in second floor basement of New Courts for the GIS operations and a couple other new servers. Software licensing, that's largely due to increases we're going to incur from moving to the Microsoft government cloud. They're going to charge us substantially more per seat for our Office 365 licensing. But we also get a few other additional services out of that, including some additional security services. Website cost.
Now, is that increase, Paul, going to be, is that something?
It's going to
we
be
need
it's going to be an annual thing. As I've talked with Wendy, anything I think that the board should be aware of, that's going to be an annual ongoing, I'll put into the general fund request. If I think it's going to be a one-time request, one-time ask, then it would be a capital fund or a special request.
Yep.
Just
I think
for,
that's-
for your all, I've been a board
That
member
makes-
of 4 different boards over the last 20 years, and that's the way we kind of like
Yep.
seeing it. I
Makes
don't
total
want to
sense.
hide anything from you.
Right.
It's a realistic, so the question you might have
But it
would be,
helps
how
us
can we
to
reduce it
understand.
going forward in other areas? If we don't have any options in one area, what can we do in another?
Right.
And what we can do in here is, again, go from 10 to 4 in that one OT salary line item. And then for the website, those costs are pretty much fixed by the vendors and the costs that we need to run it, and some security software associated with that. The phone charges have actually come down a little bit because we've negotiated I negotiated away an agreement. So I said, I don't want to pay it for anymore. We're not using the service, and let's just end it. And actually that ended July this month. So I'm looking forward to trying to tweak whatever I can going forward. And if you really need to tweak something, we can tweak either supplies or hardware a little bit. It's just that sometimes for last minute purchases,
What do you throw under hardware, Paul?
hardwares would be either emergency replacement hard drives, flash drives, or something like that for a server or like, or example, and this is where there's some crossover with the capital. For example, a department didn't budget for it, or I didn't budget for a replacement computer that died. Instead of trying to wait for a special ask, through the board or something, just purchase it and cover it under there. Now, if we leave that at 15, we can probably reduce some of the capital ask coming in. And I know you're going to be asking for a reduction in the capital ask, and I can take $500,000 right out of it right away. So, and so there's an increase, and some of the biggest increases, due to our increased needs for the server infrastructure here and the licensing for software. Which is mostly the Microsoft Office software going forward. If you want details, I can provide a detailed report on it. But most of it's going, and I'm hoping to actually keep it under, that cost, because right now Microsoft is being unreasonable what they charge us. It's pretty much list price. They said, okay, can you 15%, 20%, something for a government? But thank you. Any questions on any of those light
Keep that
items?
stock price moving up.
Well, the thing is, they've reduced their support staff, so getting in touch with somebody's been a challenge. And like say, you're paying more for less right now. And then they're making certain features that we need kind of as a government for compliance, and then saying you have to get it in the government cloud, and you can't get it in the level. And that's the only thing. I'm also worried about the security of files, so we need it. But as we move forward with this licensing, there's going to be it'll reduce the need for certain hardware infrastructure asks in the future, because instead of asking for the replacement of maybe a fixed storage drive, here is something will be moving more of that data into the government cloud. Now, right now, why we don't do that is because the locations where they have some of our data doesn't meet the, government necessarily type of security guidelines for the staff that works there. Everything else is the same. It's actually the same building and stuff like that. They just have different people looking at the data. Sure. So down the road, we hope to see fewer infrastructure costs and more on the standing licensing costs, which is where software vendors are going anywhere. They want to stand a regular source of revenue year in, year out, rather than you buying something every 4 to 5 years and then,
Right.
Yeah.
Any questions on Paul's overall budget, and then we'll move to capital? Tim?
On the telephone, he looks at last year expended about 86,000. So far this year, 54, which if we're averaging, that's about 82 by the end of the year. At 104, you're down to 97.4. Can that be dropped some more?
Let me do my pencil sharpening homework and get back to you before the end of the day.
Okay.
All right? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. It's based on, and actually the answer to that is yes. We're still paying for some old Brightspeed CenturyLink landlines, okay, which weren't migrated over during the great, those exist. So we would be able to, I would say, save up to $10,000 per year. We get rid of those, but it'll take $2,500 to $3,000 to do the infrastructure changes that we have to do because they're all still wired through standard phone lines to there, and I'm going to need to wire them back to our network switches instead. But that said, given your support in my 2 years here, I've already upgraded those switches, so I don't need to buy any more major hardware. It just pretty much the cost of some cabling and some connectors and stuff and the time to get it done. So that's actually one of my projects because it interferes with how we support the fax lines and the like. Plus, just in the last 2 weeks, Brightspeed's had 3 outages. It's interfered with the pretty much fax operations in new courts. Now, the jail is all new technology and they don't have any. They have 5 dedicated lines that they pay from the jail. The 911 is emergency backups. It's like $550 a month. And I think that's a reasonable cost. But some of the other costs are paying for some old infrastructure that I've been wanting to retire, but I've been taking care of the cybersecurity and security and the key infrastructure stuff for first. But this is actually one of the projects that I'd really like to wrap up and just move everything over to Syndio as being our primary phone provider. And if people are still using, the faxes and they are, and there's a need for it, either to move them through our new existing network rather than those old phone lines, or digital fax services or something, so where we come to somebody's email box rather than a thing. It's just that very often they're using it to fax out. So working on that. But yes, I hope to be able to shave some money off of that. So.
That'd be great. All right, any other questions in his regular budget?
You ruined it for me. I was going to come back and say,
Rest is Bible.
The finance committee, Paul, is really good at stealing people's thunder.
Well, and actually,
that's kind of what we do.
just as a background, the budget before I got here was substantially less, but what we've done is consolidated where some former board members thought it would be a good idea to consolidate the telephone and the internet and everything under IT. So costs were elsewhere are all kind of centralized under IT, which I don't mind, but dealing with Brightspeed and 9 different invoices every month is a kind of a pain. That's what it's kind of a pet project. Let's wrap that up.
Well, there you go. There's your
So,
incentives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's, everybody moved over to capital.
In terms of the capital, after a brief chat that I had with Wendy and then taking a look at your list here, part of my request for the capital is replacing computers so they're Windows 11 compatible because Windows 10 won't be supported in October of 2025. If we could, if you want to make this a 3-year plan, we could make the ask for 2024, 2025, let's say, and even 2020. And that would save 16 this year and 16 next year. But then I would need to buy, for sure, in December of 2025, new computers right away to deploy.
Okay, so we're talking about.
We're talking about
the 36,000 line item.
36 line item for computers. I'm suggesting that if you want to plan for a 3rd year, fiscal year 2026,
Gotcha.
a 20, we go 2020. I'll reduce the overall kind of spend, try to shave some, so it's just an even 2020. But then just to let you know that December of 2025, I'll be ordering up computers right away. Does that help?
Nope, spreading that out is not a bad thing.
Okay, because I was trying to spread it over 2 years, but if you want, I can spread it over 3, just as long as I get to the last third and the end of 2025. I don't want to be too long with computers, but when I got here, a good third of the computers were still Windows 7 and not receiving security updates. So I spent a good year replacing all those. So
Sure.
And I've already reached out to some departments, and this is where I can save a little bit, where like the treasurer's office pointed out that they have a technology fund that they can tap into. Now, some departments already knew this, like probation is buying all their own new computers in December, and that's fine. That's great. It's just that the jail, animal control, a couple other people don't have necessarily the technology fund. But circuit clerk, it has their own fund. Plus, they got upwards near $225,000 in court grants in the last couple of years to replace that technology. So if there's anything remaining for them, which there really isn't right now, in terms of desktop and laptop computers, we can ask in the October, November timeframe for their grant process, see if they can get a few computers out of that process. So, and that goes to my next item, fourth floor network upgrades because of this recording room that they have, that the state has. I was told that 6 months ago that within a year, the Illinois court system is going to upgrade that system. Most of the infrastructure is in place already to support that. That 3,000 could be struck if we can guarantee that money's either recovered by the state or the circuit clerk's automation fund. You know, it's a small amount, but I just wanted to have it there and not have to run around for 2 days asking for special money just to make something happen when the state was in here doing an upgrade to the recording equipment on fourth floor. So if you want to strike it, you can. Above, we've already gone 20. That I just wanted to reserve it just because I always know there's a little bit of, you know, oh, you need this all of a sudden and it wasn't planned for type of thing.
Oh, sure.
So.
Yep.
Wireless on second floor or basement. I don't know. What do you consider fourth floor or second floor?
Yeah.
I feels like a basement to me. So I call it the basement. There's no readily easy. It's intermittent access to Wi-Fi there. But I just went over sharpening my pencil again. And I think I can get by with a $3,000 ask for that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good.
So.
Paul, you make a note of that?
Okay. Now the generator, this is more of a, if you don't ask for it, you don't get it type of thing, you know, and I've been in the government long enough to know that. I just wanted to put it on your radar. I know people have talked about it. They've asked for grant money for it and the like. I just want to remind you that, you know, I've been asked to help try to keep the lights on in terms of the infrastructure around here, but I can't do that for the courts building more than a few minutes for some of the areas because it's not all on generator. And Kevin Lally's EOC EMA area isn't all on generator.
So this is
either.
more of a question for Jeff when he comes in.
Right.
But I'm going to throw it at you as well. So we had power outages all over Dixon Friday and Saturday and over the weekend. How did that affect us? How did
Fortunately, most of them were in the evening time frame, but there were some phone outages for Brightspeed CenturyLink that affected the fax lines there. But since it didn't happen during the day, it didn't take anybody out. But example, Petunia Festival starts up. When they plug in everything, it takes out the power downtown, shuts down the courts for about 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, now I've improved on that situation because you've responded to and granted me requests to spend money on some UPS's battery backups. I can keep up most of the critical, the servers and the network switches to keep the phones going for about 30 minutes. And so they don't actually turn off and have to reboot because our network devices, if you just turn them off, take about 20 minutes to a half an hour to restart fully. But I put devices in it to keep them going so they can survive that kind of that power stuff that goes 1, 2, 3 whenever you have like a lightning or windstorm, you flicker, flicker, flicker. So all buildings now can survive, well, not animal control, can survive that better now. Now it's just whether or not you want to make a decision when you want the EMC, that area to be, the network area in that space is not covered by the generator. So the area outside is, but not the server room. So if you would lose network connectivity during a major power outage to new courts. And you'd have to ask the sheriff and Judge Acker in particular, whether or not how important it is to keep the courts running, throughout an afternoon if you had a big storm, come in or the like. So fortunately, with the battery backups I've had in place, we've been able to survive the short little outages, even the 5-10 minute outages. But if it gets to 30 minutes, we're pushing it. Those battery backups on these switches to keep everything, the network devices going, will last about 30 to 45 maybe, and then they'll cut out. And when they cut out and the power comes back on, it'll take another 20 minutes to 30 minutes for those network devices to come back online again. So it's just how important it is to keep new courts up and running during a storm during the day. But now my
So
network
the new
device.
new generator here in that's
Just
outside
keep
here.
this
And
place running.
that should have fired up on Friday, because weren't we out of power on Friday from that outage?
We had a few, see, I have the battery backups that I have actually monitor the power status. And I know when there's instances going on and it reports to me. We had some flickering of power, but it kicks in about 30 to 45 seconds. And that generator gets tested every week. And it's been operational just fine. The generator across the street kicks in, and I know when there's power fluctuations there. We've had some power problems with there, like dirty power coming in when it does kick in, but it's not that. There's like an overload from the power company when it comes back on. And so I know when things are flickering on and off. And actually, in terms of power, it's the new jail. Whatever power they cut coming in the jail is running a little bit low, and they know about it, and we've been working with the power company on that. But in terms of the generator ask out here, it's just how important is it to, the courts to stay up and running during winter. I can keep it going for 30 minutes. Okay, and it prevents it from being out unnecessarily for 30 to 45 minutes. It just, what do you do if somebody declares this power outage is going to last 3 hours? Do they have a plan to exit the building and the courtrooms and the like? You'd have to talk to the sheriff who's in charge of security, and then Jeff, and then, Judge Ackert and her staff. So, but I'm just putting the ask in writing. I after talking with Wendy and some other people, I'm like, I fully expected that's an easy one to pull off. But see, if I was in your position and you had the limited cash, you really need to spend the money on the HVAC for that building. Okay, that's my stuff. Keeping it up and running doesn't do it any good if it's hot, humid. So spend it on the HVAC. But if you can plan it for FY 2026 or 2027, I would ask you to consider that, unless you can get some type of community block grant or something like that, where the cap is, I think, $550,000 if we were even eligible for it, which would just barely pay, for the unit if you applied, if you got it. So,
Well, appreciate you keeping that on our radar screen.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. Okay, the CDS management data storage, 20,000.
The courts management, that's kind of expected upgrades required because the the servers are getting old. Plus, has the circuit clerk been through to make their ask yet?
Yes, but she yeah.
Okay, so they're looking maybe at a substantial upgrade to the existing court management
And
system.
she's being very, very protective of that file storage fund for that very reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just that there may be money from court grants, but we won't know that until October, November timeframe. Plus, if Amy stays with the system she's with now, we'll need some of that 20 to keep things running, but we'll be the only one running that particular software in the state, if she hasn't already explained that to you. Yeah. And so she's a little anxious about that. So am I, because their support is a little iffy. Just the last 2 days, we added a new printer so that their staff can print to it, and they can't even help us troubleshoot, that in a timely fashion. We added 4 new printers. 3 are working just fine. The 4th one won't. And we're like, okay, it's just FCE. It's just the court management system. They can't print to it. Everything else can. So help us out here. So I think she's not only looking for maybe a system where she can get better support for the daily applications, but just in terms of training and the like, and being able to talk to her peers throughout the state, get some feedback on that. So I'm just budgeting for that. But the next line down, if you've approved or if you're going to approve the sheriff's request for body cam at $280,000, you can strike this line. I put this in not knowing his full ask and before I actually had the meeting with him and the body cam vendor that he liked to go with. And I like the solution that they have, and I like that they're recommending that they store the information in the cloud. And the reason that that's an advantage, if he didn't explain it to, is that not only do you get cloud storage and it's backed up and it's a little bit better protected, but doing that agreement also gives them a hardware replacement maintenance agreement for all of the devices. If they fail, you just send it back and they'll get you a new body cam. It's part of the agreement.
Yeah.
So there's a
we
lot of
can-
bonuses to that. So if you say, okay, 280 is good for that, we're going to give you all the 280. You can strike that 20
There you
for the
go.
body cam
Paul?
video.
There you go.
Okay. And the next
I've got that
one,
noted, but I need your file. Okay.
I got
if I
it.
done all right so far,
Okay.
I
You're
took
doing-
520,000.
We're finding
at
a
least.
lot of stuff. Very well. We're happy.
Well, I'm just trying. I mean, and
Just put it in there. Chaz.
well, I put it in there in case somebody else, just like I was talking to Amy and to the sheriff, I said, I'm not quite sure what your final asks are, but we can always tweak it when we come before here. You get your ask, because it's really coming out of the proper fund. I'm just doing it to cover some stuff here.
Nope.
Now, the conversion of
That's
the
great.
crimes, nobody seemed to want to take ownership for this for a very long time. Now, crimes was something that's been around since 1999. And they still get requests for it from the state police and the like. Now, right now, the server is off because I'm afraid if I turn it back on, it won't be lasting too much longer. Our goal is to convert the crimes database into a Microsoft SQL database. The licensing for SQL will be around 3 to 4, maybe 5. And then the programming charges, it shouldn't exceed 20. I would expect more like 15. After we're done, and the annual support cost will just be for the SQL licensing support, which would be about $100, $200 a year, which I'll just roll into the infrastructure costs. So it's a database that I've been told that they still get requests from other agencies. It was ancient 8 years ago, and I'm not quite sure why I kind of kicked the can down the road, but if people are still requesting it, and if it's crimes data, unless I'm guessing if we actually turned it off permanently.
Nobody else has talked about this. So
Yeah.
okay. So
Right, and this
what
is the
heck-
thing.
What is this?
It's the crime reporting tool they used even before the system they've just already replaced in 911. Okay, so this
Okay.
goes back 20 some years. So it's
So
got crime
911
record.
and the
Okay,
courts
crime.
using
The
this?
911 used to use this years ago. Then they moved to something else. Now they've since moved to the new Motorola Flex system. So this is 2 systems older. And Shelley was actually the administrator for it way back when. And then Mike kind of inherited for a brief part of time. But when they moved to another system, only a few people at the jail accessed it and responded to inquiries from it. I was just at the jail yesterday, and they were asking about, when are we going to get crimes back? I got another inquiry for it. And I'm just like, and the sheriff says, take a look at it. And I said, do you want me to do an ask for it right now or put it in the budget for next year? And he said, why don't you just ask for it for next year? It's just,
And this is a database conversion. So this is
database
archived
conversion.
material.
it's an archived material, which they say they update a little bit. And I'm not quite sure why you would update the record other than saying maybe somebody inquired about it on a particular, date. And I don't know, the only crime shows I watch are 40, 50 years old. And I mean, I don't know how often people would go back to a database like this because in all the shows I watch, everything was paper-based, and Dragnet, they're going back in a big old file room and stuff. To be able to look it up electronically and dig it up, it'd be kind of cool.
Is there any requirement to have this? Is it mandated by anyone?
Well, if we destroy the records, we probably would have to get approval, like officially decommission the server, probably get
Right.
approval from the state, policy retention and stuff like that. And given that it's crime related, I'm guessing they would probably say find a way of archiving it. So, because if it's not personnel issue or something like that, they'd probably ask you to. So I've taken 20 away from body cam. Can you give 15 to 20 for the crimes database?
So what's all, I mean, I mean.
And this is really for the sheriff's department. I mean, I'm doing the ask for, was he just in here?
So this is hard drives that you.
Well, the AS400 is an old
Yep.
ancient system, and we just replaced part of the hard drives to keep it up and running, but I've shut it down because it was kind of flaky. We've backed it up, and I actually just had the programmer who was interested in working on this get in touch with me today, and I said, I'll get back to you after this meeting. I'll find out.
Save you.
How many inquiries do you have, say? per
It's not
month?
me, it's the jail, and I guess they get 1 or 2 a month. And I don't know what turning down the Illinois State Police is like. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to be on the end of that call. I don't know how they're responding to it. And maybe we bounce it back to the sheriff.
Is
Yeah,
the state police
exactly.
are the only requests coming from the state police?
I've been told state police and quote unquote other agencies. And I don't know what I mean, I know what other agencies could be. I don't know what other agents would be. The ones I'd be concerned about if it was somehow a federal.
But as far
agency,
as you're concerned, Paul, I mean, if we cut this out and say, sorry, guys, they don't have the money, we probably as finance committee, we need to circle back with Clay
Right.
and with Amy or Jackie.
It'd be yeah,
Find
with
out.
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe
maybe.
with the state.
All right, let's do that
yeah.
and we'll let you know.
Because,
Okay.
I mean, we
It
At a
needs to be-
UCCI
we need to
meeting,
Find
we-
out from state.
yeah, we had.
Yeah,
a-
because this wasn't, nobody talked about this.
We had a
So,
guy
I
talk
know.
to us at UCCI. Wendy, I know you met with him. There was some, you can go to the state and they'll tell you what records you have to keep. and get
Right.
Rid of.
Yeah.
I think we can go to that group and
I need to be
say,
able
you
to
know,
find
this
out.
is important.
yeah, right.
Because we keep a lot of records now we don't need according to them, so.
Yeah, and I
Especially if you're only getting 1 or 2 requests a month. That's
It's a lot of money.
a lot of
1 or
money
2
for 1 or 2
max.
requests.
Well,
So-
and that's up to, just because I'm not quite sure what the programming costs. And what I've asked the vendor and what I can do also is to say, let me know, because it should be public record. They've done this conversion for other units of government. That their bills are going to be FOIA-able. I said, I can either FOIA it or just tell me what you charged them for it, okay? And then I can get back to you with those dollar amounts. Will that work?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can open up a discussion with Clay then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And Clay would be the point person. This isn't really an Amy thing. It's the staff at the jail that's actually asking for this. And I just got to ask, Detective Nielsen just asked me about it yesterday. When are you going to get that up and running again? I said, I'm going to ask for the money Thursday. So
There you
looks like
go.
you're going to cut it. So, and that's, you can cut it. I'll forward.
Well, you can just let them know that this is something the finance
gonna-
committee needs to understand
Right.
What
Yeah.
the
how important it
requirements
is.
are.
Yeah, I understand.
Right. Yep.
Did you have any questions about that or the items so we're going to go from 2020, and then it sounds like you might rely on maybe other funding for the 3,000 for the CT or with the 4th floor network upgrades. And then the wireless $3,000 ask, will that be good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You're going to cut the 500 or
We'll
talk about it in some other
We'll talk
capacity.
about it and it'll probably get shoved down the road. So,
there is a generator that powers part of the building, and we don't even have a complete map of the building. For example, on the 3rd floor, there's a space outside the circuit clerk's, actually in the circuit clerk's office that powers some of the network switches and some of the servers that, well, we're retiring. Only half of that room is on generator, which is fine because I'm taking the servers out that are not on that one and just on the UPS. So the network devices are on generator, which I'm happy with. And most of the closets where I have my network, my switches are. are on generators. It's like EOC, ENA isn't, and not all of the courts are. So again, we might do is talk to Jeff, and Jeff working with Greg and maybe historical documents, find out, we've been trying to find out where that power has been mapped, and we don't have a good grip of it, so.
Maxed out there.
That generator? Yeah. Yeah, not everything. For example, this one room I have equipment in now. Power goes out, stays on one side, is out on the other. And I don't want to be running 9 feet long extension cords for everything in that room. So fortunately, I'd been able to, it was part of the server consolidation, move that equipment into the basement. And we actually wired that circuit to the generator, kind of drawing, from it. And it's also on battery backups. It'll keep it going long enough. But the thing is, that's important that room be on generator, because we're consolidating servers there, not only for new courts, but for data from old courts is actually sitting in stuff there. So it needs to stay up and running. Wouldn't really do us any good to have old courts up and running and their data across the street not available to them. So.
Paul, you're talking about wiring something in, you're talking about running drop cords. So have we actually maxed out the capacity of the generator?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They were kind of, they didn't really want to add even the server room to it, but they did. And and when this generator does kick in, there's like a hot neutral or something else going on, and we're still trying to identify, what's causing that, because that'll actually take its tolls on electronic equipment, even the battery backups I have in place, if it happens frequently enough. Fortunately, downtown, the power seems to be pretty good, unless it's really windy or you get a lightning storm, or Petunia Festival. It always
So the
goes out.
$500,000 asked for the generator, that would be placing an additional generator or
Actually,
upgrading
it'd be
the generator that's
upgrading the
there?
generator that's there now, and that generator that's there, if you have any long-term plans for the old LEC, which I call the New Courts Annex, you could repurpose that generator for that facility if you want, since it's right there. You just reroute the wiring and put a new. You like New Courts Annex? I like that. Since that's probably what it's going to be considered, an annex to the New Courts. So, but you could repurpose that generator for that. So,
Gotcha.
okay.
Any other questions for Paul? All right.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll get
Appreciate
back
it.
to you with the fine tuning on the telephone, and I'll see if there's anything else that I can tweak, and I'll try to pull out of the vendor what they actually were charging other units of government for that crimes database. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks very
Thanks, Paul.
much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Should I just forward all those to Wendy? You'll pass them.
Yep.
Yep, I'll get them to Paul if
Thanks.
need be.
All right, that's all we have scheduled, unless we don't have anything add-ons, Wendy. So that concludes what we had scheduled for today. So looking forward, and if everybody has their handy dandy schedule that Wendy was nice enough to put together for us, our next session for budget. Now, isn't that our regular scheduled finance committee meeting?
I hope
On the
not.
10th?
No.
No?
It's the following week.
It's not?
The finance committee meeting is actually the 17th.
Oh,
It's late this month just because
Oh,
of
it is
the-
late.
of how the
I know,
calendar
I got it.
falls, so.
yeah, yep. Okay.
Next week.
And that should start with, read me your schedule because I don't have it in front of me. Dave Anderson first
Yes.
and then,
And then Jeff.
okay. And the reason I asked that is Bob Thompson circled back to me after yesterday or 2 days ago's meeting and said, would it be possible for me to have 10 minutes of time for the committee to kind of circle back on his follow-up items? He was going to make some adjustments there. So I assured him he could have 10 minutes.
Okay.
Won't necessarily be a hearing. It'll just be more like a follow-up conversation.
And that's on
No.
the 10th?
And that's on the 10th, and we start at 9. And probably what we'll do is because just as a reminder for the committee, what we've done is we're only bringing in department heads that have significant changes or explanations and capital requests. So probably once we get done with maintenance, we'll spend a little bit of time and run through those other departments just as a quick quick run through. Sort of, we kind of did that on our first session, but opening session, but we'll do that again and see if there's anything we identify. Then I think that after that, then I'll be getting together with Wendy and Paul, and we'll be providing some options or some for the budget wrap-up session that hopefully will be able to give the committee options as far as how we're going to pull this budget together. And so that's on the 29th, unless events change. And they'll have, and I'm referring to negotiations. So that may possibly change that 29th date. So
Yep,
I'm
and
saying
we-
that just so you're aware.
Yep,
Wendy,
and
that-
and for Becky's sake too, we based this schedule based on what we had done last year. Of course, last year we're in a little bit different place. We didn't start out in the negative. So yeah, we can
Right.
fluctuate those dates. We just need more than 48 hours notice because Becky will have to put something in the newspaper to notify them. So yeah, there's no reason we can't change it. We just need a little notification, so.
So that being said, can I put then at 11 o'clock budget department head follow-up and budget cleanup then on the 10th?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. all right.
Yep.
Then I'll
Yep,
go ahead
you
and
can do
post
that.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else good for the cause, Paul? The interlopers, does the interloper have anything for us?
Probably a lot, right?
She always has a lot for us. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Bivens, second by Naylor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.